If you moved to France from the UK with a healthy ISA, you've probably been assuming it's ticking away quietly in the background, sheltered from tax, doing exactly what it's always done. I'm afraid I have some news. Your ISA, that faithful companion through years of disciplined saving, that beacon of tax efficiency that successive UK governments have encouraged you to fill to the brim, is not recognised by France at all. France looks at your ISA and sees nothing more than an ordinary savings or investment account, and it taxes it accordingly. I know, take a moment. Then let's work out what to do about it. Welcome back to the Expat Accountant. I'm Ad, a UK qualified accountant and British expat living in France. Today we're tackling one of the most common topics that comes up, UK ISAs, and what happens to them when you become a French tax resident. The short answer is not what most people hope. The longer answer involves some important nuance, some planning opportunities, and at least one decision you'll want to think carefully about. Quick disclaimer as always, general information, not personal advice. Right, let's get into it. Let's start with a quick recap for anyone who needs it. An ISA, Individual Savings Account, is a UK government-approved savings and investment wrapper that allows you to save or invest up to a certain annual allowance completely free of UK income tax and capital gains tax. Interest, dividends and gains within an ISA are sheltered from UK tax entirely. It's one of the genuinely excellent features of the UK financial system, and most financially aware British people have made good use of them over the years. The key word there is UK. The ISA's tax-free status is a creation of UK tax law. It exists because the UK government decided to create it, and the UK tax system recognises it. France did not make that decision. France has its own tax advantage saving products, the Livret A, the PEA, the Assurance Vie. But the British ISA is not among them. When you become a French tax resident, France taxes you on your worldwide income and gains. France has no mechanism for recognising foreign tax wrappers like the ISA. As far as the French tax system is concerned, whatever is inside your ISA, cash, shares, funds, is simply an asset generating income and gains, and those income and gains are taxable in France in the year they arise. So, to be absolutely clear, the income and gains generated within your ISA each year must be declared on your French tax return and are subject to French income tax and social charges. The UK tax-free status simply does not travel across the channel, much like a proper cup of tea. Some things lose something fundamental the moment they leave British soil. Right, let's be specific about what France will tax within your ISA. Cash ISA interest. Any interest generated within your cash ISA is taxable in France in the year it arises. You declare it on your French tax return as foreign interest income. France applies income tax at your marginal rate plus social charges, potentially up to 17.2% in social charges alone, depending on your situation, on top of income tax. For a cash ISA generating modest interest, this may not be enormous in absolute terms, but it needs to be declared regardless of the amount. Stocks and shares ISA dividends. Dividends generated within a stocks and shares ISA are taxable in France in the year they're paid. Again, declared as foreign dividend income on your French return. France applies a flat tax the prélèvement forfaitaire unique, or PFU, of 30% on investment income, including dividends, which covers both income tax and social charges. You can elect to be taxed at your marginal rate instead if that's more favourable, something worth calculating for your specific situation. Stocks and shares ISA gains. Capital gains arising within your ISA are taxable in France in the year they're realised, i.e. when you sell them. If your ISA holds funds or shares that have grown in value and you sell them, even just to rebalance your portfolio, those gains are taxable in France. The same 30% PFU applies, or marginal rate if elected. The good news, sort of. The ISA itself is not taxed as a lump sum. France doesn't look at your ISA balance and demand tax on the whole thing. It's only the income and gains arising each year that are taxable. If you have a cash ISA sitting generating minimal interest, the French tax liability may be relatively modest. If you have a large stocks and shares ISA generating significant dividends and gains, the picture is more material. Here's another question I get asked constantly. Can I still pay into my ISA when I'm living in France? The answer is no. Not to a new ISA and not new contributions to an existing one. To be eligible to contribute to a UK ISA, you must be a UK resident for tax purposes. Once you're a French tax resident and non-UK resident, your ISA contribution eligibility ends. You can keep your existing ISAs open and the money already in them can stay there. It doesn't need to be closed or withdrawn, but you cannot add new money. There is a partial exception. If you move back to the UK, your ISA eligibility resumes from the date you become UK tax resident again. The ISA doesn't expire during your time abroad. It just sits there, frozen in terms of new contributions, quietly generating income and gains that France will want to know about. One thing worth knowing. Innovative finance ISAs and lifetime ISAs have their own specific rules around non-resident, which can be more complex. If you hold either of these, specific advice is worth taking before you do anything with them. This is the question everyone arrives at eventually. Should I keep my ISA or should I close it and do something else with the money? There is no universal answer. It depends on your individual circumstances, your plans, and how long you intend to remain in France. But here are the key considerations. The case for keeping it. If you ever return to the UK, your ISA resumes its full tax-free status from the moment you become UK resident again. Every pound kept in the ISA is a pound that benefits from UK tax sheltering the moment you return. For people who are not certain they will remain in France permanently, and many British expats do eventually return, this is a compelling reason to leave the ISA intact. Closing it is irreversible. You cannot reopen a closed ISA or get back the subscription history that built it up over the years. The case for reviewing it. If you're certain that you will never return to the UK, and that is a significant certainty to have, then holding a large stocks and shares ISA while paying French tax annually on its income and gains starts to look less attractive. In that scenario, exploring French tax-efficient wrappers, particularly the Assurance V, which I'll cover in a future video, may make more financial sense over the long term. The Assurance V is France's equivalent of a tax-advantaged investment wrapper and can be very efficient for long-term investors and for inheritance planning. The the middle ground. Many people in practice do nothing dramatic. They leave the ISA open, declare the income and gains on their French return each year and keep their options open. For people with modest ISAs or ISAs generating relatively little income and few gains, perhaps a cash ISA or a very stable low turnover investment ISA, the annual French tax liability may be manageable, and the optionality of keeping it open is worth more than the tax saving of switching. What I'd suggest, before making any decision, understand the numbers. What income and gains is your ISA actually generating each year? What would be the French tax liability? Is it material enough to warrant action? And what are your genuine long-term plans regarding returning to the UK? Right, practicalities. How do you actually declare your ISA on your French tax return? First, your ISA is a foreign account and must be declared on the CIRFA 3916 form, as we covered in video 5. Yes, even a cash ISA generating modest interest. Failure to declare it carries the same €1,500 per account per year penalty. Declare it. For the income and gains within the ISA, you'll need information from your ISA provider, specifically the interest, dividends and any realised gains generated during the French tax year. Most UK ISA providers will not automatically provide this in a format designed for French tax returns, because why would they? You may need to calculate it yourself from your account statements or request a detailed breakdown from your provider. Some providers are helpful, others are not. Patience and a good spreadsheet go a long way. The income goes on the 2047 supplementary form for foreign income alongside your other UK income sources. Dividends and interest in the foreign income section, capital gains in the capital gains section. The 30% PFU flat tax applies unless you elect for marginal rate tax. One practical point, keep records of the cost basis of investments held within your ISA. France calculates gains from the original purchase price, not from when you became French tax resident. If you've held funds or shares within your ISA for many years and eventually sell them, you'll need to know what you paid originally to calculate the French taxable gain. UK ISA providers don't always make this easy to establish retrospectively. The time to start keeping records is now, not when you come to sell. I mentioned the Assurance V earlier as a potential alternative for long-term investors certain that they won't return to the UK. I want to give it a brief mention here without going into full detail. It deserves its own dedicated video, which is coming. The Assurance V is a French life assurance investment wrapper with significant tax advantages for long-term investors. After 8 years, the tax treatment becomes particularly favourable. There's an annual allowance on withdrawals that is free of income tax, and the social charges position improves. It's also highly efficient for inheritance planning under French succession law, another topic that deserves its own video, and we'll get one. For British expats who are long-term residents of France, the Assurance V is worth understanding. It won't suit everyone, and the range of products varies enormously in quality and costs. But for someone with a significant ISA who is certain France is their permanent home, it's a conversation worth having. For now, note it exists and watch this space. So let's pull this together. Your UK ISA does not retain its tax-free status in France. Income and gains arising within it each year are taxable in France and must be declared on your French tax return. You cannot make new contributions while non-UK resident. Whether to keep or close your ISA depends on your individual circumstances and crucially on whether you ever intend to return to the UK. Closing it is irreversible, so don't do so lightly. Declare the ISA as a foreign account on the SURFA 3916 and start keeping records of your investment cost bases now if you haven't already. I appreciate this is not the news most people want to hear about their ISA, but understanding it clearly means you can make informed decisions, which is always better than the alternative of finding out several years later with penalties attached. Next week, I'm covering French social charges, les prélèvements sociaux, which deserve their own video because they catch almost every British expat by surprise, and they interact with your health coverage status in ways that really matter. Subscribe so you don't miss it, leave your questions below, and I will see you next Wednesday.